Welcome to Making Awesome Chapter 29. We're almost at 30, but we were just talking about how 30 is way less significant than 26, because 26 is actually 6 months. But hey, whatever. This one's all about expanding your maker horizons, and hey, there's gonna be a really cool video coming out later this week about this that really touches the big factor. So get subscribed if you want to take a look. But my name's Grant. We got Peter. We got Thomas. And we're going to talk to you guys all about expanding your maker horizons. So that this one's kind of cool. But before we do that, we got to hit the billing department. And the Making Awesome podcast, as always, a weekly podcast, by the way. So if you're just seeing this one for the first time, we're going to have links in the description to some of our other episodes. Go take a look at it. We have a whole playlist on YouTube if you want to hear all about Making Awesome. But it is supported by 3D Musketeers. So if you want to make awesome and you don't want to spend money on machines, or maybe you're in the learning stage but want to expand what your business or hobby is capable of, you can reach out to us at 3D Musketeers. Links will be in the description down below. But Peter, Thomas, how you guys doing? We're almost at 30.
Yeah, I'm doing great. My name is Peter. I am the resident video editor and copywriter for 3D Musketeers. And this is my second appearance on the podcast. I'm having a great time.
It's fun because
having a great time.
We, sometimes Tad can't make it. His day job is problematic sometimes. And it's fun because one brother goes away and another brother comes in. For those that don't know, Tad, Peter, and Thomas are all related. So it's actually pretty cool. Thomas, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Oh boy. Hey guys, I'm Thomas and I'm the graphic designer, and I guess I think, Grant, I've decided that my title should probably be visual coordinator, creative director.
Hey,
at 3D Musketeers, I just do graphic design, and I'm an animator primarily, so that's kind of my jam. Until Peter came on, I was editing all the videos and stuff, so now I don't have to do that, which is great. So I kind of am just the I make sure everything looks consistent and pretty, and
make
on
sure
brand.
Peter and I aren't going too far off the rails, right?
Yeah, that's kind of just it. But yeah, and I guess I'm a maker as well, so I do a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so.
And I'm Grant. You guys probably know me by now. I mean, if you don't, hey, welcome to the channel, because clearly you haven't watched a lot of videos. But I own 3D Musketeers, and I am the one responsible if things really don't go well. If they go well, it's everybody else. I was just kind of there to write the checks and make sure everyone feels good about it. But if it goes bad, it's absolutely my fault. Never blame anyone else. If it goes bad, it's me. If it goes well, it's on Peter, it's on Thomas, it's on Tad, it's on Brent, it's on David, etc., etc., etc. It is on the team. It's not on me. But yeah, I like this kind of thing. I like getting into it a little bit more, and we've got some really crazy content coming. God, there's some drama going on in the 3D printing industry, but maybe we'll save that for next week to kind of see what happens during the week. But this one is all about expanding your maker horizons, because we know a lot of you may not even look at yourselves as makers, right? You might say, well, I'm not really a maker. I'm more of a crafter, or a sewer, or a cutter, whatever it might be. But we're here to tell you that you're actually a maker, and we care about you.
Maker is such a broad term that it just
is.
encompasses everything. I feel like people fall into this pitfall all the time, also within the art world, where there's people who go to school for art and then they do it professionally and then have a following or post their art. But man, if you're drawing and you like it and you make no monetary gain and you just do it for yourself, or if you're scrapbooking, or if you're making cute little felt dolls, or literally you could be making anything, even stickers for just yourself or your family or something. All of that stuff makes you both like an artist and maker and all of those things. You don't need to have like, there's no like goalpost or line that you have to cross to be able to call yourself that. You're allowed to in any case. Because, by the way, Grant, I don't know if you knew this, fun fact of the day, which weirdly relates to this. Did you know that Colonel Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken fame was in no way a real colonel as part of the U.S. military, but in fact, something more specific, a Kentucky colonel, which I don't know anything about. I just know it has no military ranking, and I only know the only way you can become a Kentucky colonel is if you are nominated by an existing Kentucky colonel.
Does it require 11 herbs and spices, though?
Look, no. That's as far as I know, not.
Or
but
deliciously
that's a weird,
silky smooth mashed potatoes.
So that's just
not sponsored.
That's just my call out to say titles are all made up. So if you're making stuff, you're a maker. You know, if you're making art, you're an artist. You know, live in it. Be that person. Because why not? Even if you got a full-time job doing something else, like, you're just as valid as everyone else doing this stuff. Followings be damned. So,
you know, I didn't know that Colonel Sanders was anything beyond a name. I honestly had not a shadow of a clue that it was anything other than, oh, we just call him Colonel Sanders, right?
Granted, I don't know anything more than that, so maybe there's something deeper there. But whatever, you know.
We'll never know.
Fun fact. We might know sometime. But I mean, I'm
so
not going to go into the deep
Are you saying that I could call myself a general?
Well, see, there's a discrepancy here because I don't know how that all works.
I don't either.
I have no idea. And it seems actually like there's a modicum of disrespect to just be able to call yourself blank and then just have the title.
Oh, it is illegal. I mean, that's stolen valor to say that you're.
Well, like, apparently not for a Kentucky colonel, Grant, because it's a thing that's been going on for a long time.
That is a distinction. As far as I know. That is a distinction. But we have tangented as we do, and we're not even 10 minutes in, and we are off. But I love it. I love it.
That was lightly relevant, and I tied it back.
Is it expanding your maker horizons adjacent, we could say?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
100%.
Yeah. That's
supporting info.
That's what matters. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
And now I'm bothered by the fact that I always thought the name was fake, and now it's kind of real, and now it's...
As far as I know, it's real. Maybe it is fake, and maybe my information is bad.
I haven't had KFC in decades, so it's fine. Don't worry.
Well, in any case, if you're making stuff, you're a maker, and you belong as part of this community.
It's true. We want you to be a part of this community.
Yeah, and you should, you know, and what this episode is all about, you know, whether you don't have to expand your maker horizons, but if you really like doing this, and maybe you want to feel more like energized about learning something or doing something new, there's a whole ton of people doing great tutorials, all sorts of things, using different machinery and equipment that you might not have used before, which can greatly enhance the stuff that you're making, because sometimes you might be doing it by hand, or you may have never even considered using a 3D printer to make things, because there are so many uses. I mean, that's kind of our wheelhouse, right? So we're definitely going to plug 3D printing a lot.
For sure.
But I mean, there's a lot of different options out there. So if you are looking to kind of like, you know, beef up the hobby, or even, you know, think about starting some kind of business out of this or whatever, these are all super cool things. And the barrier of entry is incredibly low.
It is.
You can do this tomorrow if you want to.
Sincerely, you can get, and I'm not going to say it's a good 3D printer, but you can get a 3D printer for less than $250. And if you're wondering what 3D printer you should buy, hey, that's kind of convenient, because we're going to have a video coming out about our kind of 3D printers that we recommend, and then ones that the community recommends. That one's going to be a bit of fun there. But yeah, you can get an Ender 3 for like $250, and you can start doing 3D printing. You can get a K40 laser, which, please understand some of the things that occur when you get a K40 laser, right? Some of the things it doesn't have that you need. But a legitimate laser cutter for $400. You can go get a Glowforge, which ostensibly will work very well. It's just kind of slow and a little expensive.
Yeah. Basically, all of these things, if you do have any questions about them, we're still at the point where we're small enough where you can shoot us an email, DM us in one of our socials.
Dude, comments.
All of those things.
Comments. Leave us
comments. Or just comments. And just ask,
But yeah,
we won't go into
us.
the nitty gritty now because it would just be like too much. But if you are curious about like purchasing a laser cutter and what it can do for you, we'll go into some of it. But if
I will go through our laser cutter that we have here. That is, I have a love-hate relationship with that cutter, honestly. I love it. I'm so glad that Lightburn exists because it made that made that laser so much easier to use. But it's one of the things with these cheap, not made in America laser cutters is that, man, they suck to align. And because they're made of steel, expansion and contraction is a real problem with these lasers.
Yeah, no kidding.
So if it's like, if I'm cutting in the winter, and I'm in Florida, so winter for Florida is a brisk mid-spring day for the other two gentlemen on this call. But I won't even tell you, it is 87 degrees outside right now.
I mean, we have it pretty nice up here. It's 64, but up in Helena, it's windy as all hell right now.
It is pretty windy here too, but yeah, I like in the winter, the laser cuts way better, not just because it's colder, right? Because lasers love to be cold, but the metal has shrunk and there's not as much slop in the movement system. But in the summer, when it will easily reach above 100 degrees where we cut with our laser, it can be tough. And we learned the hard way that with a laser that you're liquid cooling, make sure you pipe out the heat that comes off of your liquid cooler, because otherwise you are heat soaking the room. And boy, howdy, does that suck. We needed an air, so it's in my garage, the laser. I installed an air conditioner in the garage to take up a lot of this heat, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm producing heat, and then I'm turning it into cold air. This is literally the biggest waste of time. So we 3D printed a special fitting that you can't buy in the size that we needed. So, hey, great use to have a 3D printer. Mm-hmm. And now the exhaust system for the laser also pulls from the chiller. So it helps not only remove heat from the chiller, but keeps it from going and heat soaking the garage. It just dumps the heat right outside. So that's kind of interesting, right? Because we started straight up 3D printing. We did nothing else, no 3D design, no 2D design, nothing when 3D Musketeers started. And we quickly realized that we had to do more to survive, right? And so that first starting was also a retail environment, so having somebody else to just help us out. And David, who joined us, actually knew a fair bit about 3D modeling. So we started doing custom 3D modeling at the time with a program called Onshape. Onshape is a free, so similar to Cricut, they own the designs, CAD software that is online. I was learning Tinkercad, which, if you want to know what Tinkercad is, it's like 3D modeling but with Minecraft materials, right? It's blocks and blocks and spheres and triangles and pyramids and crap, and you can put them together to build stuff. It's clearly not the greatest way to design, but it's incredibly intuitive and means that anybody can do it. But we realized that we had to make this move to become better. And we know a lot of you are in this fabric, vinyl cutting, sewing style of industry. So are you making your own designs? Do you know how to make your own designs? And if you do, what programs are you using? Are you using Illustrator, Inkscape? Oh crap! What's the Affinity's program? What's the one that Affinity has?
No idea.
But if you're paying for Adobe's Illustrator, you might want to look at Affinity. It's a one-time fee, not sponsored.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, right? There's a lot. Or if you want to start, designing your own things, chances are, if you're working off of other people's stuff already, you know quite a bit about what you're doing. You might just not be making the jump into making it your own or whatever. And I think another thing I wanted to mention is like, you know, a lot of these things and these ways of making aren't siloed, right? Like they cross over into each other a lot. Like I think a good example is, you know, I was going to mention it, Billy Rubin's embroidery keycaps. So
Pretty cool.
she
Link in the
3D printed little
description.
keycaps for like a mechanical keyboard. And there's little holes in them. And so she was able to print a ton of these keycaps because you need a lot of them, and making them by hand would be ridiculous,
Oh yeah,
especially
no.
since there'd be too much error, all that stuff. They have little holes in them, and she embroiders them for the letters and everything. It's really, really cool. A crazy awesome project. I don't know if she's released any files. I think she's probably going to make a video on it sometime.
Hopefully,
She's
yeah.
busy.
She's really
But
busy. She just got a pretty sweet job working at a government-ran makerspace in Brisbane, Australia, which is pretty cool that they have that kind of thing.
That's a really cool kind of crossover of that stuff. So, you know, it's kind of like thinking about, it's even the little things, because it's too bad Tad's not here to talk about it, but he prints a ton of stuff just for his house. He's got 3D printed door stops. He 3D printed like broken spatula handles. He fixed like my aunt's bike by 3D printing something to like, I forget what broke off, but he basically just made new pieces to adhere things to the bike.
His microphone holder part is 3D printed because we designed it, and I have one and he has one. I can move my microphone into the cut, but that's going to require me to touch the microphone, and I know that's very much not okay. Yeah. But I mean, so, and you guys have seen it before. Actually, no, because that video hasn't come out yet. But now you get to see it.
Soon.
This is my custom cane handle that I did make, and so it is a squishy, soft plastic that fits my hand way better than the stock one.
Well, and I was going to ask, if we're talking like how your skills now can be, you know, transferred into something else. Like Thomas, you're, I would say, an illustrator, animator by trade, but now I know you've been working a lot in Blender and like 3D modeling and manipulating 3D objects in Blender. Like, how has that kind of worked for you, and like what have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's probably a good, you know, it's not quite making a bunch of physical things, but I think a lot of the, you know, what I learned and how I did it is probably similar, taking the leap, right? So, you know, I'm a designer and I have a degree in design, which means I have all of the background I would need to understand basic concepts of, you know, design. So that's a huge help. And I think if you're working in any kind of design or you're doing any kind of making, you have some sort of instinct, or you've learned that instinct, you know, of design, how to make stuff, you know, measuring and colors and, you know, all that good stuff, all the little minute things you pick up over a bunch of tutorials online. And honestly, like going into something new, I mean, 3D, adding a whole nother axis to your work is crazy and super hard, especially when you're animating. And it's super daunting because there's so much. And so I could imagine if you were thinking of going from like vinyl cutting or sewing. And sewing is actually a very 3D thing, but you're using 2D shapes to make something that is intended to be three-dimensional. So that's insanely difficult, by the way. Anyone who is watching this that sews, you guys are insane. I don't know how you do it. Maybe I'll learn someday, but
I'm looking forward to learning, and I'm going to learn on camera, hopefully in a collaboration with the Sewing Report. That's, oh man, I am, there are people that know about what the basic plan is, and they are saying, oh man, you're going to do, oh, it's going to hurt. You're going to mess up real bad.
Yeah. But I mean, like, going into something new is, I wanted to learn a new way to make stuff, and I thought it was really cool just because I was looking at people's things in 3D and I was like, dang, I want to do that so bad because it's so cool and people get such interesting results and there's so much to it. So it's just like a whole other world, which I'm sure you know, that's like going into anything new. But if you're gonna do it, just take the, you know, if you want to do it, I've been doing this my whole life. I see something, I'm like, wow, I want to do that too. And then you just gotta take the first step. Just do it. Look up a tutorial, download the software. I mean, there's so many free softwares that if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, it's really accessible to at the very least, start designing. You may not be physically printing things or physically vinyl cutting yet until you can justify that. But, start learning the process. Anyone who has a computer can usually run a lot of these softwares.
Yeah, they're not
if you have any
super
questions.
like difficult to run. A lot of especially a lot of the freeware out there. It's they try to make it as easy for anybody, even with the worst computers out there. Like if you have a Chromebook, you can still do quite a bit.
It's true.
And
I have a Chromebook.
Yeah, there you go.
And like,
case in point.
It's like just and there's a bunch of tutorials and stuff. Like, get inspired by people. There's so many people doing so many different cool things. It's hard not to be excited about what they're doing. And there's a ton of people that just want to teach. I mean, some people on YouTube, their career is just teaching people how to do cool stuff.
I'm hoping that we can do something like that, man. I love teaching people, and it seems like a lot of our subscribers like my basic attitude for things, where I get a little animated, but I mean, that's just who I am, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, just dial up the crazy a little bit for your YouTube channel." Honestly, I don't dial it up at all, and that worries me a little bit.
That dial was broken years ago. It's stuck.
That dial hit 11 when I was probably 11 and hasn't changed in 20 plus years. So, but that's okay, because I'm going to be really raw about the stuff, right? The content coming around my cane is really emotional, because 31 years old, I had to come to the understanding that I need one of these to not get in trouble with the police. That's a long story that you'll see in that video when it comes out. But yeah, it's I've had to learn as well, right? I am a professional in the industry. Ostensibly, I'm a professional, but I am not an expert in all of it, right? I know a lot about 3D printing, but my 3D modeling skills are not the greatest. That's why we have Tad and quite a few other engineers on staff to help make these ideas real. And that cane handle took me like an hour and a half, and it would have taken Tad like 10 minutes, honestly. I think he told me 10 minutes. But the difference is that he knows all the tricks, and I don't. So I'm going to walk you through how to do it the hard way, and you can find the tricks to do it the easy way. But we saw in the last video, and our videos all last week, that we had a lot of people kind of commenting and asking us questions, because in one of the videos, that's exactly what we asked for. We had a whole video about how to grow your business and asking you guys to put your questions in the comments. And so if you missed that video and you have questions about how to grow your business or your hobby or whatever it is into something bigger, please put them in the comments below. But let's transition real quick and talk about some of the questions that we had from this past week and a couple of the really interesting comments that I just had to highlight. So let's go to that video, and we'll link that video in the description. So let's just make sure we have that. But we had let's see. Thomas, you want to do the one from Nicole Cassard? She said, "I am a maker. I have a Cricut and an Etsy shop. I make a variety of items such as masks, custom LED signs, housewares, and handmade face masks. My biggest question is, how do I really get my shop's name out there? How do I let people know I exist? As of now, I feel lost in a sea of other makers. What's the best way to really get the word out? Thanks so much." And Nicole, thank you for participating in that video. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Thomas, that one's absolutely you. And if you guys are looking for that specific little short that we filmed, we'll link to that as well, because that video is live. So if you want to see quick 60 seconds or less of Thomas talking about how, we're going to do that. But if you want to know a little bit more, we're going to talk about it right now.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a common thing that's really hard for anyone who's trying to get their work noticed in any capacity. I think this is a frustrating thing because it feels like no one wants to see your stuff. And that goes for everyone who's starting out anything. I think one thing is just, oh man, this is something that I learned is like, be shameless about it.
Yep.
Like you gotta just, I think sometimes it's easy to like start something and then you're either worried about the quality or you think it's kind of like nerdy and maybe it's none of those things, but make sure the first thing that you do is advertise this thing to all of your close friends and family. That's the first step to get a little bit of growth and a little thing under your feet. Because if you like it, you shouldn't be worried about sharing it with those people, and they'll share it with people because they love you. And that'll be a really good way to start. The other thing would be just see what other people are doing. I answered this in the short, and I said this in the short, but just be part of the community. Be active in the community, make yourself known as part of the community, and be a fan. There's nothing wrong with being a fan. I think some people think that, if you've relegated yourself to liking other people's stuff, you'll never be the top dog. But a lot of those people that got higher up and have successful shops or are running successful followings on the internet got there because they were really active as in other people's communities, and still are. So they're just people. And if you're part of the community and you're commenting, like you even did on this video, the fact that you're even engaging with us is huge, and we love it, and it helps us, and all of that. So you should also, maybe we can check out your shop sometime. That would be good. But I think the other thing, that's honestly, word of mouth is huge, and word of mouth is going to be the only thing that's going to get you anywhere starting out. Getting any kind of natural engagement and expecting it, even with the best graphics and best photos and everything, it's going to be really, 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 really hard. So be shameless, be a part of the community, and just share your stuff everywhere you can, and have all the socials in line too, share that everywhere. That'll help you a lot.
It's true. And, I struggle with this exact same problem as a business owner because I was always raised, and I'd like to believe I was raised well. Hi, Dad. I know you listen to all of these. Thanks for supporting us. Get subscribed if you haven't, Dad. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks. But he was always he always taught this of, don't toot your own horn. If your horn is worth tooting, someone else is going to do it for you. And I guess I just learned to pay other people to do it for me. But I have such a problem with it because you are your biggest critic. We've put out content that I look at and say, good Lord, I don't. And you all loved it. I mean, it's... You are your biggest critic. And while it may not be 1,000% perfect, getting your name out there now is better than never. And if you're listening to this, Nicole, I want you to go look at a book. It's called Start Ugly by Chris Krimitsos. He's a close friend of mine. He runs Podfest, which is the largest podcast convention in the world, and actually has at least one. I believe they're trying for a second Guinness World Record regarding the most consecutive podcasts in certain distinctions. So it was actually kind of cool. I was glad to be a part of the first one, because why the hell not? But his book is called Start Ugly. And the TLDR of the book is start ugly, fail forward, fail often. Right? If you put a post out there and it doesn't work, look at why. Right? I mean, a lot of you have seen massive growth in our channel from the cricket videos, and we see as soon as we post something that is not cricket related, we get like 50 or 60 views versus thousands when we talk about cricket. So we know that if we don't mention cricket, we're not talking about the drama, we're not going to get the views. But we also recognize that we can't be a single subject channel. We have to look at doing things that we also enjoy. That cricket content was only because it was crazy important for other people to see it, right? So we have to look at our branding and what we're doing, and we modify it, right? Instead of going back to 100% hardcore 3D printing, and here's some insights as to what we're doing, we're creating content to help expand your maker horizons So that when we do start doing more 3D printing related content, a lot of you have said, I can do this, because you don't need a Thomas. You don't need a Peter. You don't need all of these people. It's great to have them. You have to be able to afford them, but it's great to have them, right? And being able to pay people is a big deal, right? And that does not mean go run out to Fiverr and find the cheapest person that you can. Pay for quality people if you truly do need help. But Canva is a great place to start for you to make really clean looking social media posts. Make sure that you try to work with other creators where you can. Look at what is selling in your industry and say, is there a lot of competition? Because there might be a lot of competition in face masks, but there may not be a lot of competition in face shields. Now, you can put a face mask in face shields, and maybe someone that's typing it in doesn't know to put mask, they're putting in shield. It's also understanding where that competition lies, because if you're in a sea of people that are truly on a suicidal race to the bottom for price, and of course ending up with quality, you can't easily succeed. And you should not be just trying to get sales by ignoring your time. We mentioned this in the last video, and I want to touch on this a little bit more. We're going to do a whole video on pricing your product, but this is so much of a big deal. We see so many makers and crafters and whatever you all want to call yourselves do this, where they don't value their own damn time. And what happens is other people say, well, I want sales too. So what do? You undercut the cheapest person, and that's how you get sales. And fundamentally, we have this issue because that's what humans, because of Amazon, have been driven to do. We no longer really look at quality. The first thing we look at is price, generally speaking. Then we look at reviews, right? Because I don't know about the rest of you.
I would argue that if you're really going to try to grow this and you're making a product that you like, here, I go on Amazon and I look at options, and cheap stuff freaks me out personally. I have to do a lot more research and get myself to feel a lot more comfortable about a cheap product than I do a product that is priced higher. It's just the way it is.
It's fair.
And that's actually, I did go to marketing school for a year, and some of the things that I learned in marketing school is the weird thing is sometimes you will sell more product if your product is more expensive than others on the market. This isn't obviously direct advice with a ton of research. However,
it's perceived
if you are
value.
if you're making something that you like and you're putting your quality time into it, and I was also going to say, like, specialize in something, make it special. Like your face masks, they're handmade, but like, what's like fun about these face masks? Are they like patched together from other materials? Is it a fun, different material? Like, is it more protective in a way, or like fun colors, or is it custom even? Just have some fabrics that people can choose from and you'll make one to order. It's stuff like that. And just put your, have fun with it. Don't do this stuff if it gets not fun and you don't like it. Like
that's not a business. That's damn near slavery, and you don't want
your passion and you wanting to make these things will show through in the final product, and you pricing it what you're comfortable with, even whatever you think it's worth, what you would pay for it, like that's good enough, and people will buy it. So
I've seen this a lot, because for a long time I was making jewelry quite a bit, and I really do want to get back into it at some point.
What type of jewelry? I'm curious.
Metal smithing for the most part.
Big boy jewelry.
That
cool.
And I did a lot of dichroic glass, where you just melt it together. Yeah. You need a kiln for that, and those are expensive and dangerous. Anyway, making
you need
metals
permits for it in a lot of places.
Yeah. But the point is like, I see that a lot. Like, I've been to a lot of like, farmers markets or that kind of stuff, which is a really good way to also get your stuff out there, obviously COVID willing. But I would always go to these things with friends, and I'd see these jewelry stands, and I would just look at it. I wouldn't even have to hold it or touch it or anything, but they are barely making, they're they might not even be making a profit on some of this stuff because metal's expensive, and I can, guesstimate the time that it took to make certain pieces. And so I would always, tell whoever I was with, I'm like, you could sell that for like $50 more easily. And people would still buy it because then, it's that perceived value that Grant was talking about.
I have a friend who has
it's
this
a game
problem.
to play.
I have a friend who has this problem. Hi, Jenna. I'm calling you out, and I'm calling you out on a recorded thing. She does string art, and where you hammer in a bunch of nails and then you run string through it. She does like a thing for Florida, and she'll do a special color right where the city is that you want highlighted. And she was selling them for $25. Like, done. Not
How big
kits.
Are they?
Done.
How big?
I don't know the size, but she was saying it takes her like 8 to 10 hours to do one. And she needs the help of her father to cut the wood down, route all the edges. I'm like, Jenna.
For $20?
Jenna, you need another zero on that. You need another zero on that. And I said, look, let's just start with this. Double your price.
That's a really safe way.
Just start doubling it. And here's the deal. It's the way every business does it. Keep raising your prices until you see a stark drop in sales and then lower it 10%. Realize it's the 80-20 rule, right? Every year, you look at the customers that take up a ton of your time but don't equal a ton of your money. Get rid of them. And I know. It's hard for even me to do this. But you gotta do it, right? The customers take up 80% of your time and only bring in 20% of your money. Get rid of them. And especially when you're looking at Etsy, the people that are going to ask you 15,000 questions about a product and then never buy anything are a complete waste of your time. So, yes, you want to make sure that you're interacting with your community. Don't be an asshole about it. But also make sure that you're limiting your time sink into this, because what you're not remembering is all the time. And maybe you do remember it because you remember it at the end of the week like, oh my God, I must have spent 60 hours in front of the computer and I only made $200. That's not a way to do things. And so make sure that you're doing this appropriately. And yes, as you're doing more marketing, your pricing needs to reflect the quality of marketing that you're producing. If you are leaving Grant to do marketing, having a $25 product is probably not a bad thing because no one's going to notice you otherwise. If you don't believe me, go look at 3D Musketeers marketing back in 2017 or 2018.
I also think, like, at the end of the day, my experience with this has been, if you're not in this to grow slow, right? You can't expect success right off the rip. It just won't happen. Yeah. That's rare. You can't expect it. You're not going to blow up overnight unless you had a certain amount of luck and also an incredibly wonderful, perfect little idea. That's hard. It just doesn't really happen. So just just do what you like. The thing that at the beginning of the pandemic, that's such a weird thing now. Yeah. But I started freelance contracting as a designer. And one of the things that kept me afloat early on, that was something that I did not expect at all, that came out of nowhere, was I drew my roommate's dog one day. And I was like, haha, that's funny. And I showed it to him and he's like, oh, that's great. And we were like, oh, it would be so funny if we ordered stickers of this dog. And so we did. And I just posted it on my normal social media. And that was fine, whatever. And then my roommate showed it to one of his coworkers or something, and then they wanted a dog drawing. And so I just priced it and I started drawing people's dogs. And I think I calculated my earnings the other day, and it was not a trivial sum of money of just me drawing people's dogs and turning them into stickers. And that was just what and I didn't make any of the stickers myself. I did it through Redbubble. So I didn't make a ton of money on stickers.
And cats.
And cats, all pets. I did just a ton of pets, and
it's pretty great.
It just kind of happened, right? And it wasn't like a huge business thing, and I really didn't advertise a ton. I did do some myself when things kind of were picking up, and I made a few just quick media posts that were like, hey, do you want me to draw your pet? Which got a lot of traction because I had examples that I'd already made for other people. But in the end, most of the people, and I would say 90% of the people that I did these like pet portraits for, um, I was like a degree or two of separation from them. It was a friend, or it was a friend of a friend, or it was
Yep.
someone's family. It was rare that I got any commissions that were people outside of that. I did. Some were just from social media and I didn't know them, but they followed me. That kind of
You
stuff.
got one from the
And
podcast. I remember that.
yeah. So, but that's just the way it goes. And I still make them. It's not like there's not a ton of people asking for them now because it just kind of tapered out. But that's just the way it goes. You know, I'm not sad about it, and I wasn't so attached to it that like,
yeah, and be
flexible. I didn't try to turn it into a living. But it was making me a little money on the side, and like I liked drawing them. I mean, it was fun. I had a good time. It never felt like I was overworking or anything. I had reasonable deadlines for myself. And so it was natural, right? It was something that people wanted that I happened to be making. And that's
it's spread by word of mouth.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the end of it.
Want to circle back, it's if you make something and whoever buys that is proud of it, they'll show their friends and they'll say, I got this from blank. Yeah, and that's how you get more organic customers.
And it was I would say it was pretty, like, for all things considered, it was successful at the time and everything. Like, it went really well. And I guess if I was going to give you any advice, if you're like selling a product, because mine ended up being physical a lot of the time in the form of stickers and things. But I would just ask people, like, you can even exchange this in the form of discount if you really want to. I didn't.
Ask for
I would discount people for
testimonials.
friends and stuff. But yeah, ask for like people to just share it. And I think a lot of the time people, especially if it's friends, families, or friends of friends, will, if you ask, either take a picture of themselves with your product, which is huge.
It's
and then
amazing
you can tag
to have
them.
people. Oh man, it's so good.
Well, then you can tag them on social. And then when they're tagged, there's a good chance they'll share it and be like, wow, this is cool. And then other people will see it. And that's kind of how I did it.
Tagging works on a lot is if you tag, that person, people that follow them will see that they're, it'll kind of just work its way through the social media sphere.
And that was kind of just my strategy. It wasn't like some grand scheme. I wasn't really following numbers. I was just kind of doing it in the moment, right? And that's just what it was. I made a few graphics, but that's just what I do also. I made maybe 3 over the course of the whole thing that just said, like, I'm making pet portraits, like, check out these stickers. Some were physical pictures of the stickers with the animal next to them that I asked for from people that got them, which were really cute. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. If you're making jewelry or like in Nicole's case, if she's like making masks or custom LED signs, like, let's see them. I want to see them in people's homes, because then people can also imagine themselves with it, and like, I think what made the dog thing for me so successful was it was custom and it was personal to people. And I know that's not an easy thing to do because there's more time in it, because every order has to be made to that person's, specifications or order or whatever. But people like stuff that's unique too. So even if your masks are just different every time, and I mean, it's like you said, you're making custom LED signs. That's custom. People love that.
And that's pretty dope, by the way. And I would counter with, you should be getting a 3D printer because lithopans, and that's all I'm going to say. Because there's so much out there if you expand that maker horizon and look at offering more than your competition, because now, right, if you get the good marketing, right, you're getting those clean photos. And if you look in the background of Peter's video, you'll see a green screen. It's probably a green sheet thrown over something, right?
Yeah, it's actually just thumbtacked to my wall.
Yeah, it doesn't. Go get a white bed sheet from Walmart. Get the cheapest damn bed sheet you can get. Drape it from the top of a wall down over a table. Put your crap on that. Take a photo, okay? If your stuff involves people, put it on a person. Take a photo of it on a person. And then just give it to them. Say, hey, can I take a photo of this on you? Cool, thanks, keep it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, make it like I drew the dog for myself and my roommates basically because we thought it was fun.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, if you like it, other people will like it. I promise you. Like, I had a friend who started a really pretty damn successful business making acrylic earrings. She just laser cut all of them out of like really vibrant acrylic. She would design them in Illustrator. And I'll shout it out. It's Frizzle acrylic, like Frizzle, like Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, because they look like earrings she would wear. And she made pins and everything. I actually think I have some around here, but they were super great. She ended up selling them in a local store that she worked at. It was like a t-shirt shop. It was really successful. She was at little arts fairs and things like that with a little stand and booth. She made her own packaging. And granted, she's a designer like I am, so she has a lot of the skill, knowledge to like make packaging that goes to people and, you know, makes stands for her booth. All of that stuff she was well equipped to do, and branding as well. But it was super good, super successful, super simple at the end of the day. Once she had the idea and she made the first few, runs of these earrings, she was just cranking them out and she liked it, was making new designs all the time of different little shapes, and it's super fun, really great. And she liked it, as far as I know, the whole time. So
see, and it's all about the marketing. And so I think the simple answer is marketing. We answered it in a short. We'll have the link to that in the description. But let's move on to the next one. In the same video, we had commenter Leika, Leika, saying, I had actually been researching 3D printers, but most people use them to make little knickknacks and never really showed or talked about designing custom items. What does that process look like? Well, it's like people help us segue into videos that we've wanted to do, but have been a little concerned that it may not hit with our current target really well. So that's actually kind of cool. I'm glad that we're getting these kinds of questions. But, I guess the first thing is making sure that you get a good 3D printer. We have a video coming on that soon. But designing, start with Tinkercad. It is free. It is browser-based, so you don't need much to utilize it. And it is so easy. I have actually taught classes on it to 5-year-olds. And while their attention spans are incredibly short, if you tell them you can basically build like you would build in Minecraft, all of a sudden, I have their attention. And it's a great way to start. And you'll quickly realize that if you need to change, let's say you're designing a holder for a remote. Okay, this is the remote for the lights behind me. But let's say you're designing a holder for a remote, so you can put it like on your shelving racks. If you have it a little bit too small and the remote doesn't fit, in Tinkercad, it really sucks to change all the sizes on things. In CAD, one click, couple of types, you're done. And the move from Tinkercad into like a Fusion 360 or even FreeCAD, I think we're gonna start doing more with FreeCAD. I don't know, because FreeCAD is 100% free. It's in the name. But we're gonna do videos on them so that people can kind of get an idea. But yes, that is kind of where it is, right? Same thing with the previous one. You just kind of have to start. We always recommend Tinkercad. It's a great starting tool. And the commenter said that in a reply. They said, I will keep my eye open for it. It's not something I'm going to dive into very soon. I let my husband put in an order for a sawmill, so that's got to get paid down first. And it gives me plenty of time to look into machines and try out some software. And that is really the great way to do it. One, awesome for letting your husband get a sawmill, because I don't know about you all, sawmills are crazy expensive. Good ones are crazy expensive. Unless they were referencing like a table saw, but then even good table saws are crazy expensive. But either way, good on you. And I hope that the husband supports your hobbies as much as you are clearly supporting his. And that's actually why we're so excited to bring a lot of this community into doing 3D printing, because we believe this isn't just a hobby for you anymore. It's a hobby that the entire family can sink their teeth into. And, the whether it's a significant other, kids if you have them, can help challenge you to one up your skills by giving you challenges and the like. But always make sure you do your research, and we're going to do our best to make sure that you can stay on our channel for all the research you need, even to the point where we literally answer your questions, not only in shorts, but also in long format on the podcast every single week, starting with this week, because we just decided we're going to do this. Because it is a cool way for us to start to interact with you all, the hopefully subscribed. Because if not, you should get that.
As far as all this goes and like making knickknacks and stuff, I would say like, yeah, a lot of stuff you're going to download off the internet and print it, because that's fun. And it doesn't take as much effort as actually, going to make something, because that's also intimidating.
Always check to see if somebody did the hard work for you first. That's like, if I ever want to make something, like when I did the part for the cane, I'm like, someone did make cane handles, but they weren't anywhere near size for this. And because they didn't give you the source files, editing it would have been a pain. So I decided to not pursue that. But always look to see if someone did the work. Why not?
Yeah. So it's like just start small and like make your own knickknacks. Why the heck not?
Right. And I think that's really interesting. On our last podcast, we have a comment from Smurfivac.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's a very tough one. And I'm only going to read the first line here, but it's kind of off this knickknack thing. And they said, I make miniatures for doll houses and for tabletop games. Even those little knickknacks can be applied to places, like if you play Dungeons and Dragons, there's a enormous market for miniatures and little like prop pieces.
Oh yeah.
Or, if you have doll houses, or stuff. If you have a kid that plays with Legos, and they want
Lego,
that one thing.
I will correct you on that. It is not Legos. It is Lego.
Really? Okay, there you go. If your kid plays with Lego and they want a specific thing for their Lego minifigure, but there isn't actually something from Lego, print it.
I am looking for something that's resin printed, and I don't have something near me to show the detail of resin printing, but that's resin printing all day.
It comes down to just like, just like make stuff and just have fun with it. I think setting yourself up to do something with constraints is huge, and that's the best way that I've always learned. When I started learning modeling and stuff, always super simple stuff that I didn't have to do a lot of manipulation for. And then, there's a magic to it, right? Because you manage to make something. Even if you're copying someone else, do that all day. That'll help you learn so much. Download other people's files. If you're learning 3D modeling on the computer, look at like the boxed up files that sometimes come with these softwares, like the pre-made stuff. And then just go to tutorials. It's, just take a little time out of the day and set yourself up. Be like, I want to make this. And then you'll go through a bunch of tutorials to help you get there. And eventually, once you're there, you will have already learned all of these things that you can now apply to everything else, because you needed to make like a barrel or something, or a top. Like it's the simple stuff.
Easy
and then
once you've gotten it down, but it's that practice. And Thomas, I think you hit the nail on the head. Challenge yourself, but don't leave it open-ended, because good Lord, feature creep will eat you alive. And if you're curious to learn about feature creep, we actually did a whole podcast episode on it. And I truly think that was one of our greater episodes. It had happened to be episode 26, which was 6 months of this weekly podcast, which is pretty cool. And we did have Teresa say that she's going to bet a combo pizza. So we got someone else in this pizza bet regarding how Cricket is going to likely screw their consumers.
We will print out pizza slices for everyone who has decided to be part of this bet.
It will not look like the ones from the Stratasys video, and if you haven't seen that, go check that out too. But yeah,
in that Stratasys video, just to shout it out one last time, when I was editing that, and I got the footage from Grant for it. I saw that and I was like, that's just a pizza. Like, it can't be printed because it looked so realistic. I was so blown away by all of the stuff he shows off in there, especially with like the metal.
Oh, dude. Oh, dude.
Oh my God.
I
So
love
cool.
those big pieces.
Well, wait, actually, that's super great. So, while your 3D printing hobby / getting into it or getting started is not going to look like this at all, if you're curious about what
It
3D
can
printing
do.
kind of looks like, or what it can do, or what it's used for, maybe not in like a hobby sense, holy cow, like go look at the Stratasys video we released, because it gives you a wide variety of things. And I think what was most interesting to me to see was like,
I mean, the cheapest machine that we showed off was $10,000, and
sure,
and like there are machines in there that cost more than multiples of the home that I live in currently, because of how crazy they are.
I do think it's important to point out, though, that the things that are kind of being shown off are applicable to kind of 3D printing at large, and I think things that people don't know about is you can actually print like what Grant has on his cane. You can print soft materials or flexible materials with 3D printing, and there's just a whole world of stuff that you can do that's insane.
Well, there's a lot of 3D printing, from what I understand, in dental practice. Like
that's only relatively recent.
Right. And it's recent, but they can do scans of your mouth and then 3D print your teeth. So they can get a better
3D
idea.
Scanning. Yep.
It's super cool stuff. I really suggest you look up a video on it, because I watched a video for research purposes, is what I'll tell Grant.
Did I get billed for this?
No.
Okay.
But like, I was just so blown away, because I was like, that is the coolest thing, because, you could have a 3D printer right in your dental office.
Yep.
And then, show people their set of teeth. How cool is that?
You can make temporary crowns and temporary teeth.
That too. It's incredible.
And let's be very clear, right? The machines that do that actually are not as expensive as you may think. The big machine a lot of people use is the Formlabs Form 3, which I think it's the B that you need, the one that's biocompatible. But I mean, you're looking at less than 10 grand all in for the machine and the resin and all that. It's the scanner. It's the scanner.
Yeah.
It's always the scanner. We get questions all the time, and this is something that, when you're looking at expanding your horizons, you might think, well, I'll just get a 3D scanner so I can 3D print things that I can, let's say I want to sculpt something, out of clay, scan it and 3D print it. I highly recommend you look at Sculpt GL, completely web-based sculpting program. It's like literally digital clay without any of the awkward ghost references. So, there's that. But 3D scanners very much abide by the rule of you get what you pay for. There is no amazing cheap 3D scanner. I wish there was, because we are really looking for a new 3D scanner. And even the cheaper ones are like 15 grand that are really, really good. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get an SBA loan. Ha! Yeah, those programs aren't to help small businesses, but I'm not going to go on a diatribe about that. No, that would just upset me. But yes, dental 3D scanning is pretty crazy. And what a lot of you don't know is some of you, and maybe even people in your family, have utilized a 3D printed part and had no freaking idea. Invisalign. Invisalign was the first commercially available 3D printed product, because they are made to order. Like, I am an identical twin, okay? And Peter and Thomas are fraternal. So it's a podcast of twins.
Welcome to the Twin Cast.
Twin Cast. Should bring my brother on. Then it gets really weird. But we end up with levels that don't match the expectations, and you got to be careful. You got to be really, really careful about that one. But yes, dental 3D printing is absolutely cool, but is incredibly specific for use cases. But if you did or will be getting intraoral 3D scans of your mouth for whatever it might be, whether it's a crown, root canal, new tooth, whatever, ask for the 3D file, because they'll normally give it to you, and you can come home and 3D print it on your home 3D printer. I will never forget the time that we had an oral surgeon bring us teeth to model in 3D print, and I kid you not, these were wisdom teeth. And one of them, the root went down, hit the jaw, came back up, did a freaking loop, and came back out. I'm like, oh man. He's like, yeah, you don't want to know. You don't want to know how bad that one was. Because like he brought me real freaking teeth to model.
Yeah. Horrifying.
It was absolutely horrifying. And the teeth that we printed out were like this big. They were huge.
That's bigger than fun.
He was going around doing a whole series on the importance of making sure you get your wisdom teeth out if you need to. And I laugh because I've never had wisdom teeth, and my father has always told me that explains a lot.
Nice.
Never had them. So I have actually lived my entire life to this date. I've never had a tooth pulled.
Oh, yeah.
Surgery.
All right, get out of here.
Well, I guess like...
Jeez Louise.
I don't know. Like, the wisdom teeth feels a little different to me because, I don't know.
They don't
like, if
do
you're getting
much.
Well, I was going to say, like, getting a tooth pulled, to me, is way more of, like, I'm awake process, you know?
That's fair.
I've had 3. Because I had to get 3 teeth pulled when I had braces. And then I had to get all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled.
Anyway,
like,
for anyone
a year
who
after
hates,
I got my braces off.
For anyone who hates dental stuff, I apologize
nah,
for this part of the podcast.
It is what it is. But yes, there are so many places where 3D printing can be used. Look at broken things around your house. You're like, I really just wish I could get a part. My washing machine recently, its bearing was going, and we needed a part, and we just couldn't find it, so we 3D printed it. I don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna try.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for when I inevitably have a water problem.
There was a really great example of 3D printing that I loved. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Corridor Digital channel. Corridor Crew. They're a bunch of visual effects artists that make YouTube videos. They're really cool. But there's one video specifically. They use a lot of 3D printing. They've got a lot of really cool artists and people that work for them. But one day, just like a hobby thing, one of the main guys at Corridor Digital made, he took a normal Catan board game set.
Yeah.
And he made 3D printed hexagons, I think.
Are they hexes?
I think they're hexes.
I think
they're
hexes.
one of them. He made 3D printed landscape pieces, and he painted all of them himself. And so that's even just like personal project wise. Like,
oh yeah, if you're into board games, holy crap, you need a laser and a 3D printer now.
Well, what's so cool about that is like it's even conceptualizing the whole, if you've already got skills in some of these other making places, like moving into 3D printing, you've suddenly opened up the ability to make little 3D pieces parts for your board game, and you can do it all at home, which is just like unbelievable.
Even for your current craft projects, right? So let's say you want to get into doing, maybe...
What if you needed a handle for a tote bag and you didn't want it to just be fabric? You make a grip.
I will say that 3D printed grips, and I will scream this to the heavens, are absolutely amazing because you can design them to fit your own hands. I have a carrier for the real boss who is absent today. She could not make it to the recording. She was off doing important cat things, clearly. But her cat carrier, the handle, is just a thin piece of like bent steel wire. And I will tell you that is the most uncomfortable thing to use. And I've had this handle for years. It was something that David designed. I think it was like one of the first things we ever had him designed from scratch was a handle for this cat carrier. And it is amazing. It makes it so much easier to carry. And I kid you not, anytime she goes into the vet for, like her ears get waxy. So to clean off the ears or, shots, we get people in there that want them. So I've just started making some every time we go, and I just give them away because, yeah, we could probably sell them for like $10, but it's way cooler to say, hey, take this, leave us a review, which they never do. They never freaking do. Or take us photos of them, which they never do. But we keep trying.
You should on these handles. Do you have 3D Musketeers like embossed on the surface? Like,
no,
that's the key.
Because it is the same problem as to why I don't have it on the cane handle. Your hands are not as clean as you think they are. And the dirt and the grime and the gross gets embedded in it. Sucks. It looks bad. So yeah, we definitely don't do that. But like, if you love to go outside and do outdoor activities, I used to love kayaking before my back injury, and kayak handles really suck. So designed and 3D printed one that fits my hand. Great. Like, that is an awesome way to upgrade your kayak experience even further. I added Picatinny rails to it, which are rails that are normally used for like firearm lights and sights and all that, so that I can attach a 5 to 15 pound kettlebell to it that I use as an anchor.
Oh.
Yes, and so if I want to anchor the back of the kayak, I can just move it over, use the wing nuts, it comes off, puts on the back, screw it on, throw that thing overboard, and that kayak ain't moving. And even further, you can do things like add little pulleys so that you can tie it really tight to what you're trying to do. Because we used to go out once every 2 weeks because it's Florida and we have beautiful springs and it is manatee season, and that is just it's amazing to be kayaking around manatees in reasonably crystal clear water. But there are so many things that you really just have to open yourself up to. I can 3D print this, or I can laser cut this. And on the Catan thing, is pretty sweet because you can laser cut the boards, you can 3D print pieces, and now you have the biggest Catan board that you'd ever see.
Yeah, your own fun Catan set. And that's just a personal thing. There's no. And I think, but the thing about 3D printing that's so cool is, like, sure, you could make that board game and you could do it with you could do it by hand modeling with epoxy or clay or whatever you wanted to, but it's not going to be reproducible. So if something breaks, you're going to have to try and make it again by hand. And I mean, that's just going to take more time, and you could print all these pieces at once. And if you really did want to, even just giving this game to your friends, make a second copy. Want to do like a business. You could make a perfect replica of it for someone else.
There'd be some copyright things involved there, but yes, you can totally do that. You can do custom tiles, so you can modify the game.
I wasn't even saying Catan specifically, even if you just made your own board game.
I'm looking at you Warhammer people out there, the ones that love tabletop gaming. Oh my god, how expensive are Warhammer figurines? Just look at how affordable resin printers are. And again, that's going to be in the video that we're doing about 3D printing. You could get pretty decent resin printers for $250, and as long as you take the proper precautions for handling resin and cleaning it and all that, you can legitimately end up making your own army for less than half of what it would cost you to buy it, and then you can make whatever the hell you want, which is absolutely cool. But yeah, expanding maker horizons, right? Our topics have now become very nebulous because now that we're doing commenter stuff, we tangent, but I think it makes for a way more quality show. So let's see if we can get our average watch time above what it was last time. So if you've made it this far, leave us a comment and let us know. We would.
If you've made it this far, leave us a comment saying, "Oh man,
I want a slice of pizza."
I want a slice of pizza. And then we'll know.
And
we'll
ask us an actual question in there too, so we can shout you out.
And then maybe we can send you a 3D printed slice of pizza.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing this. I'm gonna tease it to people that have made this far. We're gonna start asking you guys for something that you want 3D printed, and the person that either gets the top comment or the most likes on social media, we're gonna 3D print it and send it to you because we're gonna use it in Time Lapse Tuesday. So, yes, we are asking once again for your assistance to make awesome. Because we understand that this is not something that you can do alone, and we want you to enjoy it with us at 3D Musketeers. And so if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. If you don't want to leave a comment, you want to talk to us, please also leave a comment because that helps us grow. But you can go to 3dmusketeers.com where you can reach out to us here at the show. And if you want to reach people on the show, just do it a podcast at 3dmusketeers.com. But yeah, I like this one. It was a ton of fun, guys. We got to do this more often where we're doing these things with the comments, because we definitely don't try to we don't try to drag these things out to hit the hour mark. We hit the hour mark easily, which was pretty sweet. So, yeah. Anything else before we kill it?
I'm good.
Awesome. Expanding your
We're outta
Maker
here.
Horizons chapter 29. Don't forget to call your loved ones, and as always, keep making awesome. Bye. See you in the next video. Get subscribed.
Farewell to you and you and you.
But
Yeah.
not you, but also you.
Just me.
Yes.